Well, Robbie, a disappointing result here in Salisbury. What did you make of the game as a whole?
Well, listen, I thought first half we were relatively comfortable. They didn't have, Rowan didn't have a save to make, while their goalkeeper didn't. I think we should have, because I think we were so sloppy in possession, especially first half, about picking the right pass. And we asked the players at half time to be a little bit better with the ball, and probably in the first 2 or 3 actions we do in the second half results in us not being sloppy, with us being sloppy, which results in 1 goal. And like everything, when you're down there, it compounds itself by not getting yourself out of it. And when you concede 2 quick goals, it's disappointing. But listen, the players, we've been on a decent run, and the players, for the first time since obviously I've been in charge, they've had to deal with a bit of disappointment. And I've said, listen, that while it's a disappointing result for us, it doesn't define that our season. Games are coming quick, like thick and fast, and we've got to dust ourselves off and make sure we're ready for Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it was quite frustrating in the sense that the first half, like you say, a bit scrappy. We come out second half, take a bit more control, but Salisbury quite effective on the counter.
Yeah, no, and that's what we said. But we were asking, especially the full-back positions, to be better. And I felt just the first couple of actions in them areas, it just wasn't positive, and it resulted in conceding, because once you give the ball away in them areas, you're going to naturally drop deeper. And when you drop deeper, you're giving allowing balls to go in your box, and that's what's happened. And we're bitterly disappointed with the result, because we were in a good place. But like I said, that doesn't define our season. And I've just said to the players in there, now whatever it is, you've got to show character. And I've said that the lads feel sorry for them in many ways, because they've had a lot of things thrown at them, but that's the reality, and that's also being a footballer. And we have to dust ourselves down and move on from this. And I've said, listen, we could have drawn today and maybe got a draw against Ebbsfleet, but if we can beat Ebbsfleet on Tuesday, then it's better to have the 3 points instead of the 2. So that's my outlook. That's what I'm looking at. So we've got to look forward now. We can't dwell. We've got to do better, but we can't dwell on that. We've got to make sure that we're prepared and right for Tuesday.
I wanted to ask, around the 50th minute, May bent over, he was touching his ankle. Yeah. He tried to run it off. 60th minute he came off. Was that tactical, or was that the ankle?
It was a little bit of both, because we could see that we were 2-0 down and we had to make changes, and I wanted to bring some players on in the final third that would obviously try and enhance that. Obviously, unfortunately, it didn't. But yeah, listen, he's played a lot of games, and we felt dropping Birdie in there was a little bit more attack-minded, so if we could do that and then bringing Harvey on, that was the thought process for that. And then obviously, Eastie's played a lot of minutes with his age, and we tried to look after him, and obviously Quickie was on the yellow card, so we felt if anything was happening, let's just take that away from it, and then he becomes a lot, because obviously that was his last game today, that if he'd have got a yellow, obviously he would have been suspended. So we felt at the time it was probably the right thing to do.
Well, looking at the big picture then, you probably haven't even looked, but the results down our end went well today, went in our favour majorly. On the one hand, it's all right, we stay where we are. On the other hand, it might add to the frustration that we didn't take advantage of it.
I think sometimes the frustration is when you send tactics, or when you ask certain things and it's not carried out. That's when it becomes frustrating, because you've seen, as well as a disappointment, the players were giving it all to the end. So that's not in question. Some of the lack of quality is in question at times, but it's still the same team. I said to the players, it's still the same team, or roughly the same team. Torquay, Dorking, Hampton, it's still them same players. But what they've done is they've had like the non-disappointment side of it, where they've been playing and getting results. Now it's one, I'll be asking, test yourself. What sort of character you are? Because I'll be self-critical of myself. We lost. And as a player, if you could be self-critical in the right way, it makes you better, so you know what to do next week or not to do next week. And that's my outlook. It's not, I said to the players, and I don't know how the result's gone, but this game it's not relegated. We're far from that. We've just lost one game, but we've got to jump back on it. And Tuesday, anybody who's played the game knows the next game is so important for you, for the club, for everybody. And that's what I'll be looking at. Win Tuesday, because we're more than capable of winning Tuesday, and then the whole complexion changes again. And then, you know, let's look at that. But I don't want to be negative. I want to be negative about the result. But these lads, since I've been in charge, which is 5 games, they've given me everything. They've given me absolutely everything. And you've seen that today, they were going to the end. So I've got complaints about the result, but in terms of the attitude, the lack of quality can happen at any time. But in terms of the attitude, the work rate, it's still there.
Well, just finally then, we'll be in Monday, bit of recovery, bit of preparation, and we'll go in Tuesday with a real boost and a vengeance from the disappointment, I guess.
Absolutely, and let's have it. Apart from the Dorking game, which I felt we were good in, we've played well at home.
Yeah.
In the last 4 games, which was Maidstone, obviously, Torquay, Dorking and Horsham, we've played well.
I think we've turned that home trouble
exactly.
into...
And we've got to keep that. And I've just said to the players, not one, just because we've lost the game, it's disappointing, but we look forward for Tuesday. We come in Monday, we're bright, willing to train, wanting to train, and preparing for Tuesday.